I'm a worship leader. I get to do a lot of like worship conferences and programs and stuff. But also in the acting side, people will reach out to me directly for a role because it's a singer-songwriter part, and I'm considered for that, which is really, really cool.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Matt Chastain.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. We're really excited today. We've got Kaylee Keller here with us. She is an actress, a recording artist, a public speaker, a digital marketer. And you seem kind of young to have all those titles. So obviously you've earned a lot so far in your career. You've been working hard.
Thank you, Matt. It's a privilege to be here with you today. And thank you for the compliments. Been working for a long time.
Absolutely. Well, I want to start with your bio so people can kind of get to know you. So this says here, imagine knowing your path at age 5. Well, that's where your story began. So you're more than just an award-winning actress, an acclaimed recording artist, and compelling singer-songwriter. You sense a divine calling towards performing even before kindergarten started. I think when you feel a purpose that young, it obviously comes from somewhere outside of you. It obviously comes from God himself. So you're inspired by the pure joy of icons like Shirley Temple. Kaylee dedicated her early years to honing her craft in voice and dance and theater. Her journey gained significant momentum around the age of 15 when a showcase opened doors to industry professionals. And what followed was really a rapid ascent, graduating from high school early, signing on an artist development deal, and releasing your first song to radio, opening for national artists such as Josh Wilson, Gerald Nyman, Craig Campbell, and Joe Diffie. You simultaneously took your music and inspiring messages to festivals, schools, churches across the U.S., all before you could even drive anywhere legally. So that's a pretty amazing. So I think the bio really speaks to and underscores what we're saying. You've done a lot so far in your young career. So again, welcome to the podcast. And so just kind of talk through a little bit of that, about that initial kind of inspiration coming at such a young age. I don't think a lot of us get that.
Yeah, I feel really grateful. When I was young, the Lord just told me what I was going to do. And there's been a series of confirmations since childhood in my life, as I feel like God does when he really wants you to know something. But the very first encounter with him telling me, I don't even remember. My mom told me that she was at the house one day working on something, and I came running in. I was 5. She said I had toys in my hands, and I was like, Mommy, God said I'm going to sing and act when I grow up. And then I ran out of the room to go play. And she said it was so profound that I had said God spoke to me and told me what I'm going to do with my life from such a young age. And she said she also had a series of dreams and visions about the same thing over my life, but she just didn't share it with me at that age because I was really young. So I think between the both of us, there's just been a lot of confirmations that God has a plan for me in this industry, as God has a plan for all of us with what he's called us to do. And
Absolutely.
it's been an amazing journey in the music industry, in the acting industry, and just in my faith journey in my life as a whole since then.
Yeah, prophecy fulfilled already, right? Well, talk to me about where did you grow up, and how did you kind of first start kind of fulfilling these clear destinies?
I'm from Garden City, Kansas. So I get the joke a lot. Well, you're not in Kansas anymore, Kaylee. I currently live in Montana. But I grew up in a small town, Garden City, Kansas, rural state, and I'm really grateful for that upbringing. And growing up, my mom put me in the local, theater programs that my community had, and local dance lessons and voice lessons, which I'm really grateful for. So from a young age, my mom recognized my passion for it and started watering that seed that we were told that I was going to do this as I continued to grow up. So she just really invested in me from a young age in that way. So God invested in singing and acting and music as a kid. And in high school, I had an opportunity to be a part of a Christian showcase. And from there, I was able to, branch outside of my hometown Garden City, Kansas, and start doing more things in Nashville and New York and the entertainment hubs. And that's really launched my career since.
I think a lot of people feel like I live in this tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, but it's proof growing up in the flyover state of Kansas and Garden City, which is not a huge place. It just proves that if you're called to do something, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Kansas?
No one's been to Kansas.
That's so funny.
No, I've never been to Kansas. It's one of the states I got to get to check off the list.
I know. It's funny. I wrote a song called Nowhere America, and it's kind of that play on words of what you just shared, that sometimes what may seem like a nowhere to somebody else is actually the starting foundation of your dreams. So the song goes, even though I was born in Nowhere America, I could leave, but I'm going to stay in Nowhere America. It's a place where dreams are made. And scripture says that we were all born for such a time as this. And I think sometimes in seasons of waiting, we feel like maybe God doesn't see us, or maybe we don't understand why we were born in the year that we're born or the place that we are. And scripture says that God knows every hair on your head. He knows the name of every star in the sky. He feeds the birds of the air, so he will take care of you. So you are seen and you are known by God, and he placed you right where you're meant to be for such a time as this.
Yeah, and look, I come from a very small town as well, and you're probably too young to have ever seen the movie My Cousin Vinny. You ever seen that movie?
No.
Okay, it's a great classic movie. It was shot in my hometown. I mean, it's about this, big city lawyer who comes down to a small town to try a murder trial, and that's town kind of represents Nowhere, USA, as you've kind of alluded to as well. So I don't know. I think that it gives you, as an artist, it actually gives you a really great springboard for art, because I think people are it's a more authentic experience to grow up in a small town than it is in somewhere like a rat race like Nashville or LA or New York.
Yeah, there's definitely a slower pace to life and the opportunity to build strong community. And there's a lot of very valuable things that I am extremely grateful for. Where are you from? What town?
Oh, it's called Monticello, Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah, a
Oh,
little
love
little
it.
southern town. But it's just, I find that the Midwest and the South are pretty much the same place. You got a little more corn than we have, and we have thicker accents than you have. Otherwise, it's very, very similar.
You got better sweet tea than we have.
Oh gosh, it's diabetes in a cup out there. Yeah, I had to get off the sweet tea at my age.
Oh,
So
bummer.
yeah. Well, okay, so you're involved. Obviously, mom put you in as much, trying to enrich you as much as possible in showcases and lessons and things like that, and you hone your crafts. I think it's obviously smart to kind of explore several different avenues of artistic expression. And you're a singer, you're a dancer, you're an actor. So you go through school and you graduate early. Were you homeschooled as a kid? Is that how you could graduate early?
No, I was public schooled. So when I was in high school, I was on track to graduate by my junior year anyway through the school system. And I had went to freshman and sophomore year of high school. And my sophomore going into junior year summer is when I signed an artist development deal in Nashville, and music opportunities started opening for me. So I went online to finish off my junior year.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you were already in the business before you even graduated in Nashville.
Yeah.
How did that deal go? So obviously your first I guess taste of professional artistry was in the music business. So how did that deal go for you? You hear a lot of horror stories about development deals and labels kind of taking advantage of young artists and not helping to, financially mostly. So was it a good deal for you?
I am one of those stories. I signed with a pretty major record label. Capitol Records sent me to a development company that definitely has a track record of taking advantage of artists and scamming artists.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was signed with them, I did get to work with a lot of top industry professionals, and I was making a lot of industry connections. And even in the Christian faith-based world. And really at that time in my life, I started to see the importance of being grounded in your faith. And I started to hear a lot of the language, even in the Christian entertainment industry, of, I know we're Christians, but this is just business, or don't take this personal, but this is just business. And really the separation of, if you knew me personally or outside of business, I would be an honorable, righteous person. But because this is a business deal, it gives you the right to behave in an unchristian-like manner, in an unhonest manner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the opportunity to start to see some of that from a young age. And I ended up realizing that this development deal wasn't going to be good for me long term. So I ended up getting a lawyer and breaking out of my contract early and going independent and staying independent. I've gotten to meet with a couple of major labels and look at some contract deals. And I've just felt the Lord tell me that He is a better label and He is a better author, and that He's going to direct my steps. And it's not going to be maybe like what we see standard. We think there's like a cookie cutter way. There's not to make it. But God's like, let me direct your path and let me direct this and follow me, even when you don't understand.
That is so wise of you to be able to see that at such a young age. But how old are you, by the way?
I'm 27.
Okay, well, you're young to me anyway, but just to experience that and see that before you're even 30, it's very wise because I think that the whole studio model, especially in the music industry, it wasn't great for artists in the 90s and even before that, but now you don't need it, right? If you're great and the Lord has blessed you with talent, you can get out there and grow your own following, and then you don't need that. I'm listening to Oliver Anthony's story. If you know who he is, he's the guy who did that song Richmond, North of Richmond. And, he has labels offering him $8 million to sign right now, and he doesn't. He says, I'm staying independent for that very reason. And then when I went to one of his shows recently, the dude walks out. The first thing he does, doesn't play a note, opens the Bible and reads from, I think he read from the book of Psalms the night I was there, but he'll read New Testament sometimes too. But he'll say, I couldn't do this if I were under the thumb of a label, even a Christian label. Sometimes, like you say, they don't necessarily always behave in the proper manner.
Yeah, I love that. I think ultimately we follow the Lord, right?
Yeah.
And I think that with the industry, it's so, just with anything that you do in life, it is so important to follow Him.
Yep.
And sometimes, like this artist you're talking about, I'm sure those big label deals are really tempting. And so he's got to sit there and really pray about it and discern, Lord, is this really an opportunity for me, or is this not an opportunity? And I think that with my own journey, the thing that I've grown the most in and the thing that I continue to want to grow in is just hearing from the Lord in those ways. Because sometimes an opportunity comes around that sounds really great, but isn't really good for you and what God's calling you to do. And it's being able to not get so blindsided by, ooh, a label, ooh, money, ooh, a really big acting opportunity, ooh, a really big movie, ooh, this, ooh, that. It's being able to say, Lord, I'm doing this because you've called me to do it. And I'm going to go towards the things that you have for me, and I'm going to close the doors to the things you don't. And so like with this artist, I really admire his strength to say no to labels and choose to stay independent because he knows that that is how God's calling him to do ministry. And I really respect that. And like you said, in this day and age, it's easier to be independent. I don't know if I would say easier. It's hard work, but there's a lot more freedom to grow an independent following and to not be under a label if that's not a good fit for you, because the last thing you want to do is get into a crooked deal or feel like you need to make compromises to make it.
Yep. Sharks patrol these waters. They're everywhere. You have to watch out for that. So that's such great advice for people listening, because I'm telling you, one of the pitfalls of those of us who are Christians who are going into this is that I've seen this at at festivals and things, people who are just so certain that God has called them to do this, and that's probably true. However, that doesn't mean that God is going to flip a light switch and you're going to be immediately successful in what you do. We also have to grow in our knowledge of the industry, knowledge of the craft. And so I think that a lot of times people are tempted to take these shortcuts by taking bad deals so that they can feel like they're fulfilling their calling, when in fact sometimes their calling is a much more difficult road.
Hard Faith Fest is coming to New York City on Saturday, December 6th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Producers Club in Manhattan, just 1 block away from Times Square. This one-day event brings filmmakers and audiences together for honest and deeply human stories of faith, struggle, and redemption. The theme for this inaugural New York City festival is In the Bleak Midwinter. Along with bold screenings, we'll host workshops led by industry veterans and our Pitch Fest, as well as an award show and an after party. Hard Faith exists to tell stories that liberate. Join us. Tickets and info at hardfaithfest.com. Please buy your tickets while supplies last.
Hi, indie producers. Listen, I get it. I know how hard it is to make a movie make money. That is why I have teamed up with Jacqueline Witt from Faith and Family Filmmakers Association to create a 12-month program to teach you everything I've learned along the way. I'm Alexandra Boylan. I have written and produced 8 profitable films. My movies include Switch, The Greatest Inheritance, my newest film, Identity Crisis, Catching Faith, and the list goes on. All of my movies have been on Netflix, Hulu, on the shelves of Walmart, Tubi, Amazon, iTunes. Again, another list that goes on. So, set yourself up for success and sign up today at FAFFassociation.com. You can also find it in the show notes here. We'll see you soon.
Let's talk about your road. Where has he led you in your independent journey?
I really love what you just said about really knowing where God's called you. In my own journey, I feel like, we're coming from signing, staying independent. I got to do many years of traveling and touring and opening for different artists that you've mentioned and having songs out, which that was a blessing. And I did music pretty much like full-time up till COVID. And then during COVID, the music industry really changed as a whole. And I ended up doing more music like youth group, church-oriented music endeavors, as well as marketing. And then since COVID, I've kind of done more marketing, music lessons, and then acting. The Lord has really reopened acting doors for me, where I've gotten to be a part of different TV shows and films. And I'm in a season of having a little bit of all of that in my resume and just going where the Lord leads each step of the way. So I still do music, I still do some shows, I do some teaching, I do some marketing, and I do some acting projects as the Lord opens the doors for them.
Well, I noticed that when you have a talent like music, it also allows you to bring that into your acting. One of the first things on your reel is you sitting on a front porch and kind of looks like you're working on writing a song. So I think that helps you as an actress to be a highly skilled artist and singer in order to play certain roles.
Yeah, absolutely. That has really opened up a lot of doors. It's been amazing to see how music has opened so many doors in my life, both in church and worship, because I'm a worship leader. I get to do a lot of like worship conferences and programs and stuff. But also in the acting side, people will reach out to me directly for a role because it's a singer-songwriter part, and I'm considered for that, which is really, really cool.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about some of your acting roles and some of the things that you've enjoyed. What's been going on there lately?
The most recent thing that I'm in is called Warden's Case Files. It's on the Outdoor Channel, and that's currently it's an episodic, and I'm in multiple episodes, and it's currently premiering on the Outdoor Channel now. And then I'm filming a couple projects that are in the works that hopefully will be out, either by the end of the year or by next year.
The one on the Outdoor Channel, is that a narrative or is that more docu-series?
It's a docu-series.
Okay.
Yeah, I get to play a warden, a Canadian and a United States warden, and I get to play an attorney. So
Same
that
character, or they got you playing different characters?
different characters, which is really fun. So each episode I get to be somebody different.
Oh, cool. And that's already out, you said, on the out?
Yeah, it's currently showing. It's
Okay.
season 1.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, what do you feel more drawn to? I mean, obviously you feel drawn to where you're called, but sometimes the drawing is the calling. So do you feel more drawn toward acting or drawn toward music, or are you just planting all the seeds and watering them and seeing which grow?
I think over the years I've been drawn to, during the music stuff, it was more my focus. Right now, acting's been a strong focus as that opportunity comes. But I really love what you said a little bit ago about, being called and feeling called from the Lord and learning how to wait on God. And for me, I've really wanted to come to this place in my own walk in faith of being able to lay it down. I think from a young age, feeling such a strong call in acting and music, if I am doing something in a season, if I'm having a season, I'm staying busy with that. I'm like, great, I'm living my purpose. But in the seasons like we all have where the work is slow or, COVID hit or, just seasons where the work isn't what you thought it would be, or you don't feel like the success is looking like what you pictured it to be. I realized in some of those seasons over the years, I've questioned if I'm living the calling God has placed in my life. Like, am I living my purpose? Because if my purpose is to sing and act and be in entertainment, and I'm not doing that full time in this season, am I falling short of what God's called me to do? And he's really spoken to me and told me that what he has called us to do, first and foremost, is to know him, period. And like, that's truly the call of every person in this world, is to know God and to have him, like, he knows you and he's like, know me, open your Bible, spend time with me. And from that place of knowing me, I will direct your path. And like you said, walking with the Lord means when he opens the doors and you're working a lot and you're seeing things happen, great. But also in the seasons where the door is closed and you're not seeing as many opportunities, instead of being like discouraged or downcast or feeling like you're not living your purpose and just jumping on the label deal or jumping on that show you weren't called to be a part of, just jumping into opportunities for the sake of thinking you're doing it because God called you to. Do you have the kind of faith and the kind of, I don't know, conviction, faith, and just ability to lay it down for him and to sit there and spend time with him? I often am reminded of the story with Moses and the Israelites, where God spoke to them and through a cloud of glory led them by day and a pillar of fire by night. And even when they didn't understand why they're, in the desert, or why they're not moving, maybe they're staying in a place for a long time. We read the complaints of like, why aren't we going anywhere? They weren't called to move without God. They were called to stay. And in that is protection, and in that is purpose, even when we don't understand. So when then God moves the next day, they're like, hey, the cloud's moved. We got to follow the cloud, And that's really how I want to look at entertainment. That's how I want to look at the calling of this in my life is, God, you are the cloud of glory. You are the pillar of fire. And if it's acting, if it's singing, if it's none of that, and it's something completely different, as I've also experienced in life in seasons, it's serving at my local church. It's doing worship at church. It's helping a friend. It's doing nonprofit work. It's doing marketing work, whatever that looks like. I don't want the passion to overview the purpose of this. I just want to be able to walk with you, God, and lay it down. I don't want acting or singing to be the thing that I wake up and am purposed about. I just want it to be you. So it's like, if you open a door, great. And if you don't, that is okay. And I'm going to follow you. And I was actually looking up what the word wait means in Hebrew. And there's a couple meanings to it. I actually wrote it down. I don't know how to say the Hebrew word, so I'm not going to. So I encourage listeners, if you're interested, to Google it.
It's got letters I don't even recognize.
It's got sounds I can't say. But the word wait actually is combined of like several words. And it means to wait with hope, with expectation, and a sense of active participation. And I thought that was so profound, because do we wait often with excitement? or with anticipation. And I know in my own life, sometimes it's like I'm excited and I anticipate when I have that audition, when I'm on that film set, when I am opening for that artist, I'm excited. But do I always have the hope and expectation and participation when I am waiting and I don't see the things coming in? And I think at times in my life, I haven't. Sometimes I've waited kind of discouraged, waited kind of angry at the Lord and been like, hey, you told me when I was 5, this is what I was going to do with my life. Where are you? And I look back in hindsight and I see that those times, sometimes that was a no, was actually for my protection. That talking about what I saw in the Christian entertainment industry, there was a few moments in that season where I felt like, why am I saying no to this label? Or why am I saying no to this? Or why is this happening to me? I look back with complete gratitude and I see his provision and I see his protection. And I'm grateful I didn't end up in a legal contract that I'm still to this day trying to get out of. I see that by following the Lord, more opportunities have been opened, more freedom has been opened in my life, and more influence because it's done God's way. So I think, I love what you said about that artist. It sounds like a very similar journey.
We'll have to play Richmond, north of Richmond on the podcast later on. But Kaylee, this is amazing. It really is inspiring for a lot of us who are more seasoned in life to hear such wisdom and such patience coming from such a young artist. It has everything to do with the level to which you are surrendered to him. So, just keep that up for sure. I want to dive into the acting side of things a little more with you. We're out of time on this episode, but we're going to bring you back for another episode so we can really get into acting. When I talk to actors, I want to dive deep. I like really getting nerdy with acting. So we're going to do that next time. But thank you so much for joining us today on the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.